Sherrie Miller, who used sex, lies, and internet chat to organize a horrific crime, was arrested in February 2000. This crime is often referred to as the first internet-related murder in the United States. On December 22, 2000, Sherrie Miller, a typical American mother of three, was found guilty of second-degree murder and conspiracy to commit first-degree premeditated murder. She insisted on her innocence for nearly 17 years before pleading guilty in 2016. "I have ruined many lives. It's time to put an end to the lies and tell the truth," Sherrie Miller declared before confessing. Bruce and Sherrie were born and raised in Flint, Michigan, a poor town that was once an important cog in the Midwest auto industry. Sherrie Pet Keithley Miller was born on October 13, 1971. According to her, she had a very difficult childhood. She grew up without a father, and her mother led a reckless lifestyle, drank heavily, and often changed partners. Sherrie's childhood was spent in a trailer next to her mother's boyfriends, who frequently mistreated her. According to Sherrie, she was abused from the age of 3 or 4. At 16, she was left alone. At 17, she married, became pregnant, and gave birth. The marriage broke up sometime later. Sherrie remarried and divorced again. Her second husband, Triby, was found guilty of second-degree child abuse for hitting his child so hard that it resulted in multiple skull fractures. Sherrie clearly picked the wrong men. Triby was also tried for abusing his 6-year-old stepdaughter, but was found not guilty due to lack of evidence. Sherrie drifted from one man to another, always looking for someone who could take care of her. By the age of 26, she was a single mother of 3 children by different men. She worked in a nursing home and sold Mary Kay cosmetics to make ends meet. She wasn't a model beauty, but she was definitely attractive and charismatic. In 1997, the 26-year-old took a job as an accountant at B & Auto Salvage, Bruce Miller's company. At this point, Sherrie realized that the 47-year-old successful business owner was the right man to provide her with stability and comfort. Bruce Leroy Miller was born on July 26, 1951. As a young man, he worked for General Motors for several years, like many Flint residents. After leaving GM, Bruce continued in the auto scrapping business. He owned and operated an auto junkyard, which involved taking in old cars and reselling their parts. Bruce had been married 3 times, loved racing, socializing with people, and was known for his generosity and openness. At first, he was not interested in Sherrie Keithley, his new employee. Bruce only wanted to help a single mother in a difficult life situation. However, Sherrie managed to charm Bruce, and an office romance ensued. Despite the 20-year age difference, their relationship developed rapidly. Bruce was flattered by the attention of a younger woman, and within 4 months, they moved in together. On April 23, 1999, the couple married in a Las Vegas chapel. Sherrie and her children moved in with Bruce, finally achieving the stability she had long dreamed of. Bruce's brother, Chuck Miller, later told the television program Snapped, "She always said Bruce was the best thing that ever happened to her. She finally had a normal life and a man who could afford to make her happy." Chuck's wife, Judy, added, "Bruce was overwhelmed by the pretty young blonde whom he thought was the perfect wife." However, friends expressed concerns about Sherrie's excessive spending. She maxed out credit cards and spent any cash she could find. "I was trying to fill a constant void," Sherrie later admitted. Despite this, Bruce didn't seem to mind. He worked hard, planned to adopt her children, and ignored any red flags. Sherrie also worked as a Mary Kay cosmetics saleswoman, which allowed her to sell products while traveling. To help her manage her accounts, Bruce bought her a computer, a purchase that would ultimately become a turning point in their lives. Sherrie Miller accidentally discovered adult chat rooms while using her computer to research vacation destinations. In 1999, social networking didn't exist, and text messaging wasn't common. Instead, people communicated through online chat rooms, some of which were adult-oriented and allowed anonymous flirting and virtual romances. Bruce, according to friends, was aware of his wife's online flirting, but considered it harmless. He loved his wife, was happily married, and chose to trust her rather than disrupt their family life with suspicions. Sherrie quickly became immersed in the virtual world, logging into chat rooms daily and sharing her deepest fantasies with complete strangers under various aliases. Detective Kevin Shanlian, who investigated the murder case, told the court that Sher had at least 25 different online identities. In 2016, Sher finally admitted, "I didn't get up from behind this computer. Bruce worked at the store and had his own business, so he was away a lot. I spent hours flirting online. I wanted to control everything, obsessively control people who trusted me. It was like a video game, and every man and every relationship was a new level for me, and every level was harder." Among the men Sher met online was Jerry Cassidy, known by the pseudonym Rena Dudes. Jerry was born on October 6, 1960, in Kansas City, Missouri. He was married, had a son, loved deer hunting with his brothers, and had dreams of becoming an FBI agent. While working as a homicide detective, Jerry reported corruption involving falsified records to a coworker. In retaliation, he was demoted and eventually forced to resign after 9 years of service. Although Jerry had done the right thing, his career was over. He became depressed, started drinking, and abusing substances. His marriage fell apart. Eventually, Jerry pulled himself together, moved to Reno, Nevada, and became a security guard at Harrah's Casino. In his free time, he spent hours in chat rooms where he met Sherrie Miller. Their online relationship quickly escalated. In July 1999, they met in person in Reno under the pretense of Sher attending a Mary Kay convention. This meeting set off a deadly chain of events that led to Bruce Miller's murder. An internet affair turned fatal. The online romance between Mary Kay and Jerry Cassidy quickly turned into a physical affair. Jerry thought his life was finally changing for the better. Mary, who introduced herself as Sherrie, claimed she was a wealthy businesswoman living with a disabled husband, seeking an affair on the side. Jerry believed her. His friend and colleague, Carol Slaughter, later recounted that Sherrie came into Jerry's life when he was at rock bottom. His marriage had broken up, and he was in a new neighborhood where he had no friends. Jerry fell hard for Sherrie, telling Carol that she does absolutely everything in the bedroom. Throughout the summer and fall, Sherrie used her cosmetics business as a cover for trips to Reno. When they weren't together, they exchanged explicit emails, messages, and even videos. They renamed their accounts, with Sherrie calling herself Jerry's Fool and Jerry calling himself Sherrie's Fool. Despite his past as a police officer, Jerry failed to see the deception. Whether he was gullible, flawed, or broken, he was an easy target for Sherrie Miller. She quickly wove a web of lies and convinced him that he needed to kill her husband. Jerry's friends noticed a change in him. He became erratic, swinging between elation before Sherrie's visits and deep depression after she left. By September, Sherrie claimed she was pregnant with Jerry's child. She sent him pictures of a positive pregnancy test in her growing belly. Shortly after, she told him that her husband, Bruce Miller, had discovered the pregnancy and beaten her, causing her to miscarry. In reality, Sherrie had undergone a tubal ligation in 1995 and was incapable of having children. Jerry had no way of knowing this and believed her lies. Soon after, Sherrie announced another pregnancy, this time with twins. Jerry begged her to leave Bruce and move in with him, but she refused, claiming Bruce had connections to the mafia and would never let her go. While Sherrie continued to visit Reno, Jerry was arrested for drunk and disorderly conduct at a casino. This briefly interrupted their communication. Upon his release, Jerry decided to return to Missouri and try reconnecting with his family. But Sherrie continued to manipulate him. She sent fake ultrasound images and pictures of her growing belly. "I just bulged out my belly," Sherrie later admitted. Jerry wanted to believe it so badly that he had no doubt. On November 5, 1999, Jerry received an email, allegedly from Bruce, stating that he knew everything and wouldn't let the bastards be born. Hours later, Jerry tried to contact Sherrie, but she only replied the next day, saying she had to leave town for a few days. The following morning, Jerry received another email from Bruce, claiming he had forced Sherrie to have an abortion. The email included photos of a battered Sherrie. Later, Sherrie admitted, "I remember standing in front of the mirror, trying to draw bruises on my stomach." Jerry had reached his breaking point. He blamed Bruce for the deaths of his unborn children and the abuse of the woman he loved. On November 8th, after reconnecting with Sherrie, Jerry told her he couldn't let this continue. He would kill Bruce. Together, they devised a plan. They mapped out routes, parking spots, and the perfect time and place for the murder. That evening, Jerry drove from his home in Missouri to Michigan. As Bruce was leaving work, he received a call from Sherrie, who asked him to pick up a pizza on his way home. Distracted by the conversation, Bruce didn't notice the man approaching from behind. Jerry pointed a 20-gauge shotgun at him and pulled the trigger. After the murder, Jerry returned home while Sherrie executed the next part of the plan. She called Bruce's brother, Chuck, expressing concern about her husband's long absence. Chuck drove to Bruce's workplace and found his brother's body lying in a pool of blood, shot in the chest at close range. Detectives initially suspected a robbery, as Bruce often carried large amounts of cash and his wallet was missing. John Hutchinson, a friend and employee of Bruce's who had recently borrowed $2,000 from him, became a suspect. He was questioned, his home was searched, and his weapons were confiscated. Hutchinson even failed a polygraph test, but there was no concrete evidence against him, and he was eventually released. Meanwhile, Sherrie's behavior raised suspicions. Just 2 days after Bruce's death, she was seen dancing at a bar in Otisville, Michigan. Within 2 weeks, she had a new boyfriend, not Jerry Cassidy, but a local delivery man named Jeff Foster. Jerry, who had killed for love, found himself abandoned. Sherrie cut off all contact and moved Jeff Foster into the home she once shared with Bruce. Devastated, Jerry finally realized he had been manipulated into murdering an innocent man. Overcome with guilt, he turned from a lover to an investigator, uncovering the truth behind Sherrie's lies. 3 months later, on February 11, 2000, Jerry Cassidy shot himself in his Odessa, Missouri apartment. He used a .22 caliber rifle and was found sitting in a chair with an open Bible on his lap. The Bible was turned to Matthew 5:21. "Thou shalt not kill, and whosoever shall kill shall be in danger of the judgment." He judged himself, pleaded guilty, and executed himself, Jerry's mother later said in an interview. The case remained unsolved until authorities began investigating Sherrie Miller more closely. Her manipulations and lies were exposed, and she was ultimately arrested and convicted for her role in Bruce Miller's murder. In the end, what started as an online romance ended in deception, betrayal, and tragedy. A few days after the body was removed, family members were cleaning the apartment when they discovered a briefcase under the bed. Inside, they found 3 suicide notes and an envelope taped to the outside. Jerry wanted revenge on the woman who had broken his heart. The former detective confessed to killing Bruce Miller because he believed, at the time of the murder, that Bruce had abused Sherrie and caused the deaths of his 3 children. The letter explained that Sherrie Miller had lied to him about Bruce's alleged behavior. "I went over there and killed him. I was such a fool. But now everyone will know the real story of why I got so depressed, because I just couldn't tell anyone the truth." She wanted to get the money and get rid of her husband. Well, she got her way, but she would soon learn that she couldn't do that to people. "I know now that it was all lies in Sherrie's games. She didn't care about hurting anyone." To prove his point, Jerry attached printed transcripts of instant messages with Sherrie. In between intimate exchanges, she had given him directions on how to find the dump, where to park to avoid being seen, and other important information. Attorneys for the Cassidy family contacted the Jesse County Sheriff's Department and relayed the information. On February 22, 2000, police waited for Sherrie Miller as she was getting off a plane with her boyfriend, Jeff Foster. Ironically, they were returning from a trip to Reno. She was charged with second-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder. Prosecutors believe Sherrie was a skillful manipulator who convinced her lover to kill her husband under false pretenses. Despite a briefcase full of evidence, she insisted on her innocence to her deceased husband's family. On December 12, 2000, the state of Michigan's trial against Sherrie Miller began, and her case made national headlines. Given the bizarre nature of an internet-related crime, public interest was abnormally high. The prosecution shared thousands of messages between Sherrie and Jerry, demonstrating the woman's lies. She was never abused. She was never pregnant with Jerry's children, as she had undergone a fallopian tube ligation many years prior. According to the prosecution, Sherrie wanted Bruce dead for financial gain, as a divorce would not have given her enough money. However, the defense argued that the young woman received only a minimal amount of money after her spouse's death and would have lived a much more affluent life had he been alive. The defense insisted that Jerry Cassidy, as an abandoned lover seeking revenge, had fabricated evidence. Sherrie told the jury that her sexual communication with Jerry was just part of an online fantasy. She claimed she had lied about her pregnancy to help Jerry deal with depression and about the abuse to convince him to leave her alone. She adamantly denied writing the messages describing the crime, suggesting that Jerry had forged them using his experience as a homicide detective. However, police found evidence of the messages on Sherrie's computer. Online correspondence played a crucial role in the trial. Miller was found guilty on December 22, 2000, and sentenced to life in prison on the murder charge and 54 to 81 years on the conspiracy charge. In 2007, she was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder and found to have other mental illnesses while in prison. Sherrie began treatment and filed an appeal. She even managed to get married for the fourth time. Michael DeNoia, who saw her story on the news, couldn't resist her charm. He wrote to Sherrie and she responded. In 2008, he visited her in prison and proposed. Some reports say they actually married in April 2008, although there is no official evidence of the union. Miller won an appeal in 2008 and was released from prison in 2009. A federal judge overturned her conviction, ruling that Jerry's suicide letter should not be considered evidence since Cassidy was deceased and could not be cross-examined. The judge determined that a new trial was necessary and released Sherrie on bail. However, in 2012, Sherrie was sent back to jail to continue serving her original sentence after the court reinterpreted the admissibility of the suicide letter. By this time, she had spent 3 years outside of prison. She continued to insist on her innocence. In 2016, Sherrie Miller sent a 4-page typewritten letter to a district judge, suddenly admitting her role in her husband's death. This revelation shocked everyone, as no one expected her to voluntarily confess. The letter sent to the judge was seen by many as just another manipulation tactic to gain sympathy. Something happened inside me when I had to go back to prison after 3 years of freedom. You see, I had my daughter and granddaughter living with me. I begged my daughter not to come with me as I was being taken back to prison, but she wouldn't listen. As I walked through the sliding doors and looked back at my daughter, she was crying so hard. I remember hearing her scream, "No, Mommy, no, don't go." After that moment, the full implications of what I had done to Bruce, his friends, his family, Jerry, his friends, and his family hit me with full force. They will never see them again. Bruce was a great man. Sherrie Miller wrote of her husband, "He never hurt me or my children. All he did was love us. He wanted to adopt my children. He just wanted a family. The only man who loved me, and I ordered him killed." In 2022, Sherrie gave a public interview to a popular TV station. She admitted that Bruce was not involved with the mob and never abused her. She confessed that she used makeup to fake bruises and faked ultrasound scans to manipulate Jerry. According to Sherrie, she didn't do it for the money. She was afraid that Bruce would find out who she really was. She felt that it would be easier for him to be killed than for him to learn the truth about her. Sherrie admitted that she knew about Jerry's tendency toward depression in the briefcase of evidence, but was confident that she could talk herself out of anything. She believed she could manipulate the jury and the court so much that she turned down a plea bargain that could have given her just 15 years instead of a life sentence. According to Sherrie, it took a public story for her to find peace with herself. It's still very hard for me to look in the mirror, realizing what I did. I've been waiting to tell the truth and hopefully get a sense of peace from it. Sherrie Miller remains incarcerated at the Huron Valley Women's Complex in Michigan. She is not eligible for parole.